Hello friends, I am happy to introduce to you today the tutorial for my newest brioche scarf pattern. I love working with brioche and I have been really getting into the syncopated method of brioche. So what is syncopated? If I have a traditional brioche pattern, there's usually one color that is held forward on that ribbing and the other color is in the background on one side, and then you flip it over to the other side and it will be in that reverse. The white's now forward and the color is in the background. With syncopated knitting, I'll have a flat piece of work or something in the round, but the forward facing piece has alternating between the two colors of which one has that ribbing that's forward and which one has the background support. So syncopated on this one, we have a herringbone pattern. We're switching between that light blue coming forward, alternating with that dark purple coming forward with the blue in the background. And this is what the front of your scarf would look like. We have the I-cord edging all the way around, and then this is a little bit of what the back looks like. So the back has a little bit of a different feel and pattern to it. Gorgeous, they accompany each other, love this pattern. Now, if you are not familiar with brioche patterns, let's talk about the actual chart for a second here. So if I have my hand-drawn chart here, I have my traditional empty square means knit. I have my circle means purl. That does happen occasionally during this pattern. Let's talk about some of the more complicated pieces. So you'll notice it has row 1 with a light side light color and a row 1 light side dark color. So that's usually fairly easy when we're talking about just a standard brioche. Your light side is the color that has the lighter tone coming up forward as the ribbing with the dark side in the background is what they mean by light side. And then the light color being the lighter color of yarn that you're holding and working with at the time while the other one is hanging out. So when you're looking at this row 1, it's saying you're going to work your row 1 across. This is the light side, and then it will have, you'll use the blue yarn in this project here because it is the lighter color. Now it can get a little confusing because with syncopated, you're actually switching back and forth, so you don't have the light dominant side on one side of your knitting. So I kind of want to say there's like 2 strategies to kind of help you with this pattern when you're trying to orient where you are. And I'd say light side is that first herringbone stripe is light side. I've also made the 3 light sides are predominant on the front of the work. So this would be like what we would consider your right side is the light side in brioche. And then also when you're working on your project, you have your tail here as you're working, and I kind of like use that as my marker, or I'll take a stitch marker and I'll put a corner there. So as I'm going back and forth, if I, pick up my work, it's been a while, I get a little disoriented, I can pick that up and I'll mark here, my tail or my marker so that I can kind of be like, oh yeah, that's right. Okay, this matches this corner. So I'm on my row 1 going that way. Grab this color yarn. It just helps organize things. So I always recommend either keep your tail so you can use that as reference, or put a little stitch marker that matches this corner and mark your pattern. It helps with setting things down and coming back to it over time. So that's reading it, going one direction. So I'll take my light color, I'll knit it all the way aside, and then I won't turn it. I'll move all of the knitting back to that needle across, which I'll show you physically once we start the project. And then I'll take my dark yarn color and I'll go all the way across again, following those instructions. Once both of my yarn colors are on the opposite corner, then I know I can turn my work and start working from row 2. Row 2, it's dark side now. So that would be, this side is now facing you. See that my marker is now not in conjunction with my pattern. So I know, okay, this is my dark side. It also means that that dark yarn coming forward as you're working back is the first one you see to help you remember dark side for this syncopated method, because these little guys can be kind of confusing with the blue in the middle. So think, okay, I'm starting here. I've got dark forward on the dark on the braid, going that way, dark side. You start with your light color, you'll do a row going across this direction. Don't read this way, it'll get very confusing. If I'm reading row 2, anything that's dark side, knitting this way, this direction. So I read my chart this direction. And then I will scoop my yarn across my needles, and I will go to row 2, dark side, dark color, and scoot all the way across once again. That's theoretical right now, but I will show you physically as we begin the project to kind of help you with that. In the meantime, last couple things we need to cover for the chart before moving on. We have our bark, so this is your knit brioche knit symbol. This one is slip with the yarn over. This one right here is your burp symbol, so you are purling, brioche purling. Same thing, you're going to slip with the yarn over. Now the funky ones here is bark, yarn over bark, which is a funky shape. That one is going to be where you are going to do a brioche knit, yarn, slip over, and a brioche knit all into the same knit stitch. So you're adding stitches here. Again, I'll show you what that's going to look like. This little guy is slip with your yarn in front to help with that I-cord. You'll see those along the edges of the chart. And then finally, our last two symbols here. You have your brioche decrease with a right slant and your brioche decrease with a left slant. These are what the symbols look like in the chart. And I kind of want to point out how that symbol looks and how the construction works real quick. So brioche, you're leaning to the right as you're slipping stitches and combining them. So the symbol looks like this. I always think that's my main bar, and these pieces are getting added into that main bar in my decrease. So if I'm looking at, let's see, this is a good spot right here. The right slanted, and I have this bar is disappearing into that right slant. So right slant, my other stitches are going into the side of it. Now your brioche with the left leaning decrease, you got your brioche stitch is leaning into the left direction, and then your stitch is going into it. So I always think I'm going left, these stitches are going inserted into it. So if this is my main bar, my extra stitches are getting added into that bar. So it looks like it's almost pointing the other direction, but think like which stitches are getting added into which direction, and it kind of helps a little bit. Again, I will walk you through this. We're just giving a quick introduction to know what to expect. All right, we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna grab some of our test yarn, and I will show you the first step, which will be our provisional cast on. From there, I'm gonna walk you through every step that you're gonna need to know to be able to follow along with this project and create your very own syncopated herringbone scarf. Okay, I have my supplies here. I have my waste yarn, my two colors of yarn that I'm going to use in my project, light color, dark color. I have my larger set of needles for not just my provisional cast on, but for my I-cord cast on. With this, I recommend going one or maybe even two sizes larger than your needle size that you'll be using in your project. The reason being, the more I-cord space that you can give yourself the room to grow as your stitches relax in the brioche pattern, that I-cord can keep up so you don't have a I-cord that's like tight and pulls the project inward. So I go one size larger. If you find that you do an I-cord with a very tight stitch, I would even recommend going two sizes up. Now when you do your provisional cast on, I find it easiest to do it with a crochet hook. You want to get it as close as you can to your I-cord needle that you're using. This is the closest I have and it works, so we're gonna roll with it. And last piece about your I-cord, you do not have to have a double pointed needle. You could use your circular needle. I find that the wooden needle holds the stitches a little bit better since you're only working with 3. They can get a little floppy, and I also think that the shorter distance I prefer to move my stitches across the needle for the next set than to transfer them from my right hand back to my left hand to re-stitch. That provides a lot of opportunity as you're slipping those stitches back onto the left hand needle to get a little warped or stretched out. So I like to use the double pointed because once I knit, I can just scoot them over and then continue on with that needle set. So that's how I'm going to show you with that next step. But for now, we are going to begin our provisional cast on. Our provisional cast on is going to start with that slip knot. So go ahead and create your slip knot, and you're going to put that on the crochet hook and give it a little tight tug there. And once you have that set up, you're going to take your double pointed needle or your circular needle, and you're going to put that on top of the waste yarn. Now I'm going to take my hook, I'm going to grab my waste yarn from the above the knitting needle, and then with my thumb I'm going to pinch that slip knot against the needle so that I have that tension to pull my crochet hook through the slip knot space that I had put on that crochet hook. And now I have my first loop on my needle. I now take my working yarn, or my waste yarn, and move it underneath. Now, take my hook, place it over the needle again. I grab that waste yarn, pull it through that loop that's on my crochet hook. I take that yarn once more, move it behind the needle. I'm going to wrap around the crochet hook, pull it through, and bring that yarn behind. So I now have 3 stitches, 3 provisional cast on stitches on my needle. That's all I need to begin. I have all of this waste yarn. I need somewhere to put it, so I like to go ahead and create a little bit of a braid with the excess slack, and I leave it like that. So once I'm done, I can just tug this, unravel it, pick up my live stitches from my actual I-cord that I'm going to begin, and I can remove that waste yarn and have 3 live stitches to pick up for the corner of my scarf. Now I'm going to show you how to start the actual I-cord. So to follow along with the pattern, we're going to want to begin with our dark color that you've chosen for your scarf, and you're going to hold that yarn behind the 3 provisional. You're going to take your opposite needle and you're going to go ahead and knit all 3 of those provisional cast on stitches. It's going to feel a little loose. They're going to feel like they're wobbling and want to go everywhere. So just go nice and slow. Now once you have your, so I was holding this in my right hand, once you've got your 3 stitches done, instead of transferring back onto your left needle, instead just move them across to the end of the needle you already worked on and switch hands. Now for this particular I-cord, you're going to want to alternate every other color for the number of stitches that the instructions ask for you to create that cord. So each color is a row right now, so when you read the instructions, the number of rows is basically the number of times that you're going to repeat this step. So next I'm going to take that light color yarn, hold it behind, and I'm going to once again knit all 3 stitches. You're going to want to be a little loose here, so you can, don't yank on them, but you can kind of tug them down just a little bit and move them across. Switch hands, pick up that dark color so that we're alternating. And once again, knit all 3 stitches, move it across, switch the needles in your hand. Now you're going to take that light color yarn, once again knit through all 3, slide across, switch hands, grab that dark color now, knit through all 3, slide across. Now I do want to point out, if you've noticed here, there's going to be sometimes that last stitch, that knit stitch can loosen the color below from the previous row. So when I go to pull and pick up my next row, so I have to do white on my next one, you can see that this is a little loose. So I'll pull that down just to match the one next to it. You don't want to yank on it so hard that you have a really tiny small stitch on your I-cord. But you do want to give it a little tug just so that you can get it to the kind of same gauge or tightness as your previous one. So watch this dark color yarn, as I knit it and release, it can kind of get a little loose. So I usually ignore it till I move it across here, and as I pick up that dark color for this next row, I'll just tighten it a little bit. See, I'm not like cranking it down because it will make it too small, so I kind of look like I'm matching these two stitches. And then I hold that tension there as I go into the next three. So watch, as I go to knit, that white one gets a little loose. Don't panic about it yet. I just move it down, and when I pick up that white one, I usually just kind of check that I've pulled it tight enough, and then continue knitting through. Get it across, check that tension. Knit those three. You're going to continue this alternating pattern for the number of cast on I-cord rows that you're looking for, and eventually that will even out nicely. And I will see you once you've finished casting on the number of rows that you need. Now we need to knit, pick up and knit all the way across so that we can start the actual project. First step. Don't get excited and get ahead of yourself, forget to switch needles and then continue on with the large needles and then wonder why your gauge is all off. Ask me how I know. You want to make sure you switch to the small needles. So we're going to go ahead and do that first. So we're going to just put on our small set, our smaller set for the pattern. Now you want to use your light color to pick up and knit across the I-cord edge. So make sure you've got that one ready. The piece that when you're going across here, you want to make sure you're picking up stitches along the same V. You don't want to kind of like wander off and start curling and twisting this. So when I look at my 3 stitches, the one that is furthest to the point of my needle, it goes straight into this white V here. That's the line I want to choose to pick up my stitches from. Next piece is that we do not want to pick up directly underneath. We want to skip this first light colored stitch and go into the next dark color. So it goes dark, light, dark is where we want to pick up. The reason being is we want to give a little extra room for this corner here, and that's going to help provide that. So skip the white one, go for that first dark V after your 3 stitches. Go and grab both sides of that V, wrap the yarn around your needle, and go ahead and pull through. Now this first one can be a little tricky. There we go. Doesn't help that I made that V a little too tight. We have our first one. So now we're going to go from that dark colored V to the light colored V. I'm going to go through both legs, wrap my yarn, and pull it through. So I'm going to continue this pattern, going down that V, pulling the yarn through, grabbing the next one, pulling it through. Now, as you continue this, you can check your work, and as long as you got a nice formation of a V along the underneath, then you know that you're still picking along the same section of V's as your project. And if you kind of lose a little bit, because sometimes when I'm looking at it straight on, I'll see this V right here where my thumb is, I'll be like, oh yeah, that's a good one right there, but it's actually twisted. So when I want to check my work, I can rotate my right hand and I can see, okay, I just pulled that white yarn through that reddish brown V right there, and so I need to go next to it and pull through. And not to be confused, when I face forward, I see this V with these 2 stitches. I go, no, wait, that's not it. Rotate back. Okay, now I've got it. These 2 right here. And then if you're like not really sure if you've gotten the straight line that you want, you can always use the front of the work to check. So if I was to do it wrong, if I look back, see these are the 2 that I want to grab, but if I'm not paying attention and I grab only one of those and the other one underneath it and pull through, you can see that it kind of starts to twist these stitches, because then I'm like, okay, do it again. and it's starting to rotate that I-cord and twisting it. So take your time with it, pick up those stitches. I'm going to see you all the way at the end. If I'm checking here, you can see my provisional cast on waste yarn and then my last 2 rows. I want to ignore those. I'm going to pick up all the other stitches and I'll meet you there. All right, now I have picked up and knit all the way across my I-cord cast on row. Oops. And I'm going to now pick up what I need for these 3 stitches, so I continue the curl on this side of the I-cord. So I have one more pickup right there. And that leaves the light color and the dark color. Now, when you're picking these up, some people will just pull all of their waste yarn off and then pick up the exposed stitches. I don't always like to do that because you can see they're not all in the same tension from me moving things around. Things have loosened up a little bit. And this, if you kind of pinch it and move it to yourself a little bit, you can see this one stitch right here can get kind of tiny. So I like to pick them up because sometimes when I'm pulling this out, that stitch disappears. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up the right side leg of that stitch, and then I can see on my I-cord edge it goes straight to this one next. So I, once again, did I say left? I meant right. On the right leg of that stitch again. So now I have 1, 2, and I have this really loose guy hanging out. I'm going to pick up the right side of that leg one more time. So now you can see I've picked up 3 stitches from that original I-cord row, and it's attached to my provisional cast on waste yarn. So now I can take that old yarn and pull it off the project. And I now am ready to go for my first brioche setup row. The next set of our instructions in our pattern is the setup row with the dark color. We've knit across with our white color as we picked up our stitches, but you'll see that the dark color is still on the other side. When working with brioche flat, you don't want to just finish with the light color and then turn your work. You actually want to scoot them across your needles, which makes having circular needles for this project really convenient. So I'll take all of my stitches, I'll bring them over to the other side of my circular needle set, so I'm able to use that dark color. For our setup row, trying to organize all these strings. For our setup row, we're going to begin by slipping our first 3 stitches purlwise with the yarn in back. Now we are going to do our first slip stitch with a yarn over. That means we pull our dark color in front. We're going to slip our stitch purlwise to the right hand needle as we yarn over, followed by a knit stitch. Now our pattern wants us to follow this 2-stitch pattern for a total of 4 times. So that's 1, pull our yarn in front, slip purlwise as we yarn over, knit again, that makes 2, bring our yarn forward, slip our stitch as we yarn over, and then we knit, making it 3, yarn in front, purl as we yarn over, knit, and that will make 4 combinations of those 2 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. To complete the setup for the first herringbone, we are then going to yarn over with the yarn in front one more time. And then our pattern asks us to place a marker. The marker comes in handy because it is in between each of our stripes, kind of indicating and giving you a reminder, hey, you're switching from the knit stitch to the purl stitch, or after the setup, the brioche knit and the brioche purl stitch. So it helps keep you organized so you don't accidentally flip your stitches. So the next section of our setup row, it is asking us to begin with a purl and then followed by a slip and a yarn over. We will complete this again for a series of 4 times. purl, bring the yarn in front, slip and yarn over, 2, purl, yarn in the front, slip as you yarn over, 3, oops, I lost track of where I was, hold on, 1, 2, 3, we've purled, I got ahead of myself, 1 more yarn over here to complete our section of 8 stitches total, 4 of them, 4 patterns of the 2 stitches. So purls, yes, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it wants us to end 1 more stitch with the purl. And remember, when you're counting, that yarn over and stitch from the previous row here is counted as 1. It is a grouping. So if you're counting your stitches, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You have 9 stitches in each section. After that last purl, it wants you to place another marker to indicate the change of another herringbone stripe. So you're going to continue repeating through that section 1 more time, and you'll get to your last 9 regular stitches plus your 3, so last 12 stitches. You're going to finish that last herringbone column here. So we will begin with our yarn in front, yarn over as we slip purlwise, knit. So that's 1, repeat that 2 stitches a second time, a third time, and a 4th time. I'll have my 1 white stitch left, light colored stitch. I will yarn over, slip as I yarn over, sorry, and then I have my last 3. These last 3, they want you to slip with the yarn in front. We don't want to lose this yarn over here on our last stitch. So really make sure that you use your yarn over, pull the yarn all the way up in front, and then as you slip those stitches, it will lock that dark colored yarn in the front, keeping that yarn over here intact so you don't lose it. We are now going to begin the actual charted part of our pattern. So we are going to turn our work because both of our light and dark colors have met together. So we know we've completed both halves of our 1 row, and we're now going to begin with our light color because it's our first row. And to check, we have our waste yarn here in the corner to match our chart. It's telling us and indicating to us this is the light side. Really use the light color for row number 1. Now, as we go through rows 1 through 4, I'm going to kind of give you the abbreviated edition of this, so this video is not multiple hours long. We've already been very detailed so far. So I'm going to go through the pattern, and as we get to a new stitch, I'll go over the stitch and then continue on fast forward when we're repeating stitches that I've already described. So light side, row 1, light color. You're going to begin with 3 knit stitches to create that I-cord edge. Now your very first stitch on your pattern asks you to complete a brioche knit. Brioche knit is to take the grouping of the knit stitch with that yarn over from the previous row, insert knitwise, and do that brioche knit. Now for the second one, the second stitch that is new to us is that slip 1 yarn over. So you're going to take your yarn, pull it up to the front. Now as you insert the needle into the next stitch purlwise, as you're slipping it off, you want to yarn over. Next stitch, we've already know now, is a brioche knit. And same thing, bring the yarn in front, insert purlwise, slip and yarn over. That is going to bring us to our first right-leaning brioche decrease. So the thread is going to lean over to the right direction. To do this, you are going to first take that first grouping, insert knitwise, and slip it over. The next stitch that you want to complete is to take this guy and just do a knit stitch. So now I have 2 here. I'm going to take this one that I slipped knitwise, I'm going to lift it over the one that I just knit, And then I am going to slide that onto my left hand needle, take the next grouping, the next stitch, and slide it over again on that knit stitch. And then you can see that it gets really loose, so you just kind of pull it a little tight to make sure it has the right tension, and you can see it is now angling over to the right side. So I'm going to redo that for you again real quick here, in case this is the first time that you've done a right-leaning decrease brioche knit stitch. As you can see, it goes from those 3 stitches down to 1. So I insert knitwise, slip it over, next stitch I knit, take that slipped knitwise stitch over the one that you just knit, slide that knit stitch over onto the left hand needle, pick up the next one, the next slip stitch, slip it over the one that you knit originally, and pull it over. You can see how it's very loose. Just give it a little tug, get the right tension, and off you go. All right, the next one is slip 1 yarn over, and we get to the next new stitch. That is going to be brioche knit, yarn over, brioche knit. So you're going to go from 1 stitch to 3 stitches. So I'm going to insert knitwise as if I'm going to knit. I'm going to pull that yarn in front, but I'm going to leave the stitch on my left hand needle. I take my working yarn, I create a yarn over, hold it with my index finger, I insert back into the same stitch for 1 more brioche knit. Now you can see before I pull this off, I now have 3 hoops or knit stitches on my right hand needle. So I've checked my work, I'm good to go. I can let that left hand stitch slide off. I'm going to slip my marker. Now going into the next section, this is where we have our light colored brioche section we just finished. Now we're going into the reverse. So even though you've been knit brioche along this side, this next section is going to be oriented around doing the brioche purl. So the first stitch is to bring the yarn forward, slip as if to knit as you yarn over, and now we get to our first brioche purl. We're going to bring our yarn in front as we insert the needle purlwise, complete that purl stitch, and pull it off the needle. So that was brioche purl. Now that's all the stitches that you need to know for row 1. We're going to go ahead and fast forward all the way up to the last stitch. I want to go over making sure that you lock the last yarn over before we begin row 1 with the dark color. So fast forward and finish it all the way up to the last stitch in my row 1. The last stitch is a brioche knit, yarn over, brioche knit. So that 1 to 3 stitch. Once again, you're going to insert knitwise as if you are to knit, but don't let that left hand stitch come off the needle. You're going to yarn over and then insert knitwise 1 more time as if to knit. You now see you have 1, 2, 3 stitches on your right hand needle. You can let that left hand needle go. That already locks in our yarn, so we want to move it up to the front so that it doesn't get disorganized with our I-cord edge. And these last 3 stitches are all going to be purl stitches slip stitches as if to purl with our white working yarn or a light working yarn in the front. All right, that is the end of our row 1 with the light color. Now we need to complete row 1 with the dark color, which is over here. So at the end of row 1 with the light color, do not turn. You want to scoot your stitches all the way across your needles and set yourself up to complete facing the same direction with the dark colored yarn. Now with this one, there's no new stitches. It's the same stitches that you have just completed, just in different sections. Remember, this first section is the light color coming through, and the second section is the dark color coming through on the forward. So where you had just done all of your light color brioche knit stitches, now you're going to do the dark color purl stitches. So we want to have alternating I-cord edge, so we begin with our first 3 stitches being knit stitches. The first stitch that you are now going to complete in the chart is bringing that yarn forward, purl, slip as if to purl as you yarn over. I'm tripping over my words. You're going to bring the yarn forward again and do that brioche purl stitch. So insert as if to purl and complete that brioche purl. Now you're going to continue that all the way to the next section. So I'm going to go ahead and knit that up really quick just to get us to the next confusing part. So remember when we went with the light color going in the same direction, we had created our increase of 3 stitches here. So now we're going to get to that part where you're like, oh shoot, what do I do? So if you read the chart, you can see that the first stitch, there's going to be 3 boxes above our increase on that chart. The first stitch in this increase is going to be a slip and yarn over, and then you're going to complete just a regular purl stitch. The last increase is going to be another slip and yarn over. You're going to move your marker, and now you're in the section where you're going to have that dark color coming forward, so we're switching over to brioche knit. So beginning with that first stitch on your chart, this is going to be a brioche knit, and then slip and yarn over, and continue that pattern until you get to your first right-leaning brioche decrease going to the right with the dark color. So just as you did with the light color stitches, you're going to slip as if to knit your second stitch. You're going to take that first slip stitch, bring it over the stitch you just knit, bring that stitch over to the left hand side, and then taking this third one to complete the decrease, you're going to pick it up as if to purl, move it over that knit stitch, and bring it once again back over the right side. You can see it can get kind of big, so giving a little tension is good. And then you're going to slip as if to purl as you yarn over, and now you got to the last, well, new-ish stitch is going to be that brioche knit, yarn over brioche knit with the dark color. So you're going to insert knitwise, knit, yarn over, knit, slip, or check you have your 3 stitches, and then you can slip that stitch off the left hand needle, move your marker, and then continue on with that pattern along with the chart. And I will fast forward to the end here so I can once again talk to you about locking that last stitch and making sure your yarn is in the right orientation before we turn. Alright, so we finished row 1 with the dark yarn. I keep wanting to say side, sorry, dark yarn, row 1. I'm at my last stitch that I had. It's technically last 3 stitches. This is the 1 to 3 increase that we had with the light colored yarn. So once again, for that setup, it's going to be first slip and a yarn over, followed by a regular purl stitch, and then that, oh no, don't run away, there we go. That last stitch is going to be a slip and yarn over. Now it's really important at this point that you bring that dark colored yarn up to the front, because it's going to complete that yarn over. So then when you go through your slip stitches, purlwise slip stitches, you're not going to lose that yarn over. It's locked in, it won't disappear, it won't cause any confusion later, so that is really essential. We've just finished that row 1 with the dark color. We're going to go ahead and turn our work, and now we are at row 2 dark side. So kind of orient yourself to know where you are. If you look at your tails, remember when you are doing your project, if your tails are on this side with the light color, you're going, that is the light side, so you're reading from your right to your left. But now you're working on the back side, so you have no tail here at your corner to start off with that matches your chart, and it's on this side, so it's dark side facing. And when you read the chart, you read from the left side over to the right side. So that's why it's labeled on the chart. The written instructions of row 2 are on the left side because it's a reminder to read from that left side to right side. So we're going to start with the light colored yarn. You always start with the light color, even though it's dark side facing. If they're together, start with the light color. If they're separated, you'll probably need to do the dark color. First 3 stitches are knit stitches. So knit 1, knit 2, knit 3. And what's nice about the dark side is that you don't have any of the decreases or increase type brioche stitches. It is just going to be either a purl stitch or a knit stitch when you're dealing with your increase stitches that you are working through, like this one right here. All the other stitches are going to be either brioche purl or brioche knit with a slip-in yarn over. So a little bit of a break as you go through your pattern. Now, when I'm reading from left to right, the very first stitch here is going to be a brioche purl, followed by a slip-in yarn over. You're going to follow that pattern all the way up until your marker. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. Slip that marker, and now we can go over our increase here. So we have our increase from our previous row. We're going to begin with a slip with the yarn over, and then it is going to be a knit stitch. This time, by reading our chart, will help you along so you know when to purl and when to knit. You're going to bring your yarn forward, slip, and yarn over. And the rest of this section is going to be a brioche knit, the slip-in yarn over. So that's the only confusing part in row 2, is just making sure that you set up that increase stitch correctly, and then you continue on with either brioche purl and yarn over or brioche knit and yarn over. And then make sure when you get to the end, if it ends in a yarn over, make sure you lock that yarn over by bringing the yarn to the front of your work before you slip your last 3 stitches and the I-cord edge. I'm going to go ahead and finish this, and I'll meet up with you at the beginning of row 3, because row 2 with the dark side, remember, don't turn your work, just get back to the dark yarn color and then do the same exact thing, reading left to right, using the dark yarn to get both yarns over to the light side, both colors over to where your tail is at the corner of your knitting. I'm right before row 3. I have my last stitch of row 2, dark side, dark color. I bring my yarn to the front, I slip as I yarn over, and then remember, bring that yarn up to the front before I slip my 3 stitches so that yarn over is locked in place. So that is, both threads are now together, so I can go ahead and I can turn my work, and now I am light side facing forward again. I have both my yarn tails on the right side, just like I mentioned, wanting to mark your chart in the right hand corner so it matches those tails, which would be right here, just to kind of help you orient yourself as you're turning or not turning your work depending on the row. So now row 3, we start light side is forward. We want to begin with our light color because both strings are together, so we begin with the light color. First 3 stitches, once again, are knit stitches. Now, the first stitch of row 3 after our I-cord edge is your brioche knit, yarn over, brioche knit, increase 1 to 3 stitches. So we've done this before. We're going to go ahead and insert knitwise, as if to knit. Don't pull off that stitch on the left hand needle. Yarn over, insert to knit once again into the same stitch. Check to see you have your 3 increases. So I have my 3 I-cord, my 3 increases. Okay, I can let that stitch off the left hand needle. You're going to bring that yarn to the front, slip and yarn over at the same time, and now we have our last new stitch to go over. It is our decrease, but it is a left leaning brioche decrease. To do this, we're going to begin kind of the same way. You're going to insert the needle knitwise and slip that first stitch over, because we're going from 3 stitches down to 1. So I slip, This next one, I'm going to knit 2 together. So I take these next 2 stitches, go in knitwise, knit those 2 together. Now I go back to my first slip stitch and bring it over that knit 2 together stitch that I just completed, and then give it a little tension, and that is your decrease. You're going to continue on to your pattern as slipping and brioche knitting all the way to your marker. Slip your marker, and this is your purl section for the light color. So you're going to do that slip and yarn over, and now you're transitioning to doing your brioche purl stitch. And you keep going through that follow the chart with those stitches until you complete row 3 for the light color, and I'll begin with the light side dark color once I'll meet back with you with the row 3 light side dark color. So this completes the row 3 light side light color. Remember, don't turn your work. Bring it all the way over to the other side of your circular needles so that we can begin with the dark color. We have only the dark color on this side. The 2 colors are separated. And you have this tail on the right hand corner, which indicates light side is still facing forward. So you make sure that you're oriented the right way and everything's going the way it's supposed to. So I'm going to take that dark color. Where'd you go? Oh, you're tangled up. That's why. Okay. So dark color, row 3, light side, dark color. Knit your first 3 stitches. You're going to begin by slipping and yarning over at the same time. The second stitch of that previous increase asks for a purl stitch, and then bringing the yarn forward, slip and yarn over. So you're going to continue to brioche purl and slip and yarn over all the way to your marker. Slip your marker, and now we are going to have our brioche knit, yarn over, brioche knit, our 1 to 3 increase stitch. So we're going to insert knitwise as if to knit, but don't let that left stitch off. Yarn over, go ahead and knit that one more time, 1, 2, 3, let that left hand go since you have enough increased stitches. And then you're going to slip and yarn over. Now we have our left leaning decrease, brioche decrease. So we're going to insert knitwise. The next 2 stitches, we're going to knit 2 together, just like you did with the light yarn. And then take that first stitch, move it over, the stitch 2 together. And then you're going to continue on with the pattern for the rest of your stitches all the way to the end. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward to the end of row 3 light side dark color so you can help turn properly to begin your row 4. Okay, last stitch for row 3 light side dark color. Bring my yarn in front, slip and yarn over, but remember, bring it all the way back to the front to lock that yarn over in place as you slip your 3 stitches. Now we're going to begin row 4. We're going to turn our work because both yarn colors are together. Orienting ourselves, yarn tails are over on the left side, so you know that this is dark side facing forward, and you're reading from left to right on your pattern. We begin with the light colored yarn, and this is it will feel very similar to row 2, where it has no fancy decreases or increases. It's just going through brioche purl, brioche knit, slip and yarn over with the occasional knit stitch to accommodate for our increases from the previous row to reset up our brioche setup. So we begin with our 3 knit stitches, and then this first stitch on row 4 is going to be a brioche purl. Slip and yarn over, so you're going to continue that pattern all the way through, and I'm going to kind of quickly just go through these brioche purl and knit stitches to get to our first increase, because that's the only time this part is kind of confusing. So I'll walk you through that part. Okay, so we're at our increase from the previous row. You're going to bring your yarn forward, slip and yarn over. This next one is going to be a knit stitch. Bring the yarn forward, slip and yarn over, and move your marker. You'll continue on following your pattern with those stitches that we've just gone over. And when you are done, you're going to do row 4 dark side dark color, which means you don't turn it, you just scoot it to the end of your needle set and then continue with your work. So that's kind of the quick version of row 1 through 4 with all the special knit stitches that are on it. You have everything that you need to know to be successful. I'm going to go ahead and knit a few rows here so that I can then show you how to do the I-cord bind off and the Kitchener stitch once you get to the end of your project. But for now, you can tune back in for that last step once you have gone through all of your row 1 through 4 pattern repeats to make your scarf, and then tune back in once you get to that I-cord bind off. I wish you the best of luck. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you have fun, and I'll see you at the I-cord. Okay, you're at the last stage now. You finished your number of repeats as the pattern calls for, and you need to complete the I-cord bind off. We're going to begin the I-cord bind off by switching to our larger set of needles, and you're going to stitch 2 rows of just the plain I-cord edge on the right hand side, so light side facing forward. You're going to go ahead, take that light color, and you're going to knit 3 stitches. And then you're going to take those 3 stitches and bring them back over to the left hand side. Drop that light color, pick up the dark color, 1 more row of I-cord stitching. So 3 stitches, and pull those 3 stitches back over onto the left hand needle. Now you're going to begin the process of casting off. I'm going to start with my light color again. You're going to knit 2 stitches and then knit 2 stitches with the back through the back loop together. So I'm going to knit 1, I'm going to knit 2, and now we want to take an extra stitch off. So remember, with our brioche, this counts as 1 stitch, so 1 stitch, 2 stitch. So I'm going to go behind all 3 of those yarns through the back loop, knit through, so knitting those 2 stitches together, and then I take those 3 I-cord stitches and bring them back over to the left hand needle once again. Pick up my dark color yarn, start by 2 knit stitches, and then go through the back loop on the next 2 stitches and cast that off. Bring those stitches back over the left hand side, pick up the next color, and you'll continue this all the way down until you have the last 6 stitches on your needle. And at that point, I will show you how to do the Kitchener stitch. Okay, so you've completed your I-cord cast off. You're now down to your last 6 stitches. They should be finished with your dark color, so a 3 and 3 on each needle. Now to do your Kitchener cast off, you want to kind of look at your stitches, and if you see those purl bumps, that's the ones you want to put together. You don't want to accidentally twist this and take that I-cord and completely twist it around. So just take a second to look and make sure that your purl bumps are facing on the inside and your knit stitches are facing to the outside and shifted over to the edge of your needle. I've already cut this, but since you have dark color on the needles, you're going to want to cut your light color and attach that to the darning needle, so those last stitches continue on with the alternating pattern. You want to double check that your other remaining yarn is in the back and out of the way. And with those 2 stitches, the one in the front that's attached to your I-cord cast off section, you're going to want to take your darning needle and on that first stitch insert purlwise. Don't go too tight, just enough to get that tension there. Now you're going to go to the second needle, first stitch, insert knitwise, and pull that thread through. Now you're going to start the actual removal process. On this front stitch, I'm now going to go knitwise, thread my needle, thread my thread through, thread my yarn through, and then slip that stitch off. Before I move to the second needle, that second stitch, I'm going to go purlwise and keep it on the needle. Head to my back one, I go purlwise and slip that stitch off. Before I go back to the front, I set my stitches up, so I'll go second stitch knitwise, but I don't let it fall off the needle. Now I'm back to my first in the front. With that first stitch here, I'm going to go knitwise, slip that stitch off, and now I'm going to go purlwise with that last stitch and keep it on the needle. Transition to the back, I'm going to go purlwise, slip that stitch off, and then knitwise, keep that stitch on. Last 2. Here, knitwise, slide it off, and then purlwise, slip that stitch off. Alright, so I did it kind of loosely here. So what's nice about that is I can kind of look at that and hold the tension the way I like it. I know it seems like an extra obnoxious step, but I used to do Kitchener stitch way too tight in the past, and I would always be really sad at the resulting work. So I kind of got used to just pulling those last 3 stitches, getting the tension right where I like it, and there we have it. We have a nice curve on our cast off, going all the way across to either side. There you have it. Well, if you made it this far, congratulations, you're well on your way to creating a scarf. Thank you so much for sticking with this video and trying out my pattern. I would love to see your finished work. You can post it on Ravelry or send a link in the comments below. It would be wonderful to see what you create. Have a great day.